Hey y'all, what's happening? It's Ivy here. And this video is long overdue. I probably talked about doing this video more than a couple of weeks ago. But this is going to be one of the Psalms that I plan to do all 150 of the Psalms. I put a video out just explaining how I use the Psalms when it comes to answering prayer and also for spell work. So whichever category you fit into with that, we're going to try to make something happen. But I'm going to break down the Psalms for you in the way that I tend to look at them so that you can understand it from my point of view, but maybe it'll help you with your way of how you start to look at scripture, okay? And just to clarify, I am in no means religious at all. I am not a Christian, but this is how I've always looked at the Bible and interpreting it and breaking it down for my benefit. So we're starting with Psalms 1. And Psalms 1 can, and I have notes here so I don't forget things. Psalms 1 can basically be used for protection from those who wish you harm. It can also be used to diminish the strength of your adversary or your enemy. And it can also be helpful when it comes to turning away from harmful associations. And associations is, it may not be exactly what you think, okay? Because this pretty much all has to do with you. So I'm going to read through the psalm and then I'm going to go back through it. So if you are following along, I would advise that you follow along with me in your Bible or Bible app, whatever it is that you have for these verses, because after I read it, then I'm going to go into how I break it down. Okay, so Psalm 1 begins with Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he do shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. So I'm reading from the King James Version. I don't know, whatever version you guys might have, New International Version or Clear Word Version or whatever, but this is the way that it reads for me with the King James Version. So when we look at man, it says, blessed is a man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Blessed. First, it starts off with letting you know that as a person, you are blessed, because this is the way that God has created you, to be a being who is blessed. Okay? And being able to maintain a position of being blessed, you are blessed when you don't walk in the counsel of the ungodly. Understanding that being ungodly is something that you do with your mind. It's a state of mind. And so when you are not in the counsel of the ungodly, it means that you are not in a place in your mind where you are not dwelling on thoughts that are oppositional to God's law. Nor standeth in the way of sinners. Standing in the way of sinners. So a sinner is, going to the word sin. Sin is referred to a marksman when they would do the bow and arrow and they had the bullseye and they needed to hit that mark. To sin is to miss the mark, because sin is actually referred to in this way. It's a archery term, okay, to sin. Missing the mark. So a sinner is someone who is consistently missing the mark of what it is that they should be doing. Okay. And when we talk about a way is a particular practice of something, particular practice of something. It's a road, it's a direction. So when we look at someone that is not standing in the way of sinners, you're not standing in the direction of someone who is consistently missing the mark. And that's in your mind. You're not placing your mind in a place where your thoughts are continuously not where they should be. Okay. Nor sit in the seat of the scornful. Sitting somewhere, if you look at what it means to sit somewhere, usually when somebody sits down, they want to be comfortable because they want to get off their feet. Okay. And so this is not putting yourself in a place where you are comfortable with being scornful. And scornful is like someone that just really never has anything good to say. They always are grumpy or griping about something. No matter what the situation, they always find something negative to say about a situation or have a negative feeling about a situation. And this is basically stating that you are blessed more so by not standing or sitting or taking counsel in the way of those that are ungodly or scornful. And this goes back to, like I said, referring to you. When you and nobody else, we're not looking at other people, when you are not first standing, taking a stand for things that may be negative, because what we do in life, we take a stand either for or against something. So when you are not standing in a way, and a way again is a particular direction. Even if you want to say in a habit, if you're not standing in a habit, if this is not something that you do in your daily life of walking when you're standing, okay, when you're not doing that in your mind and making it a daily practice to consistently miss the mark, and you're not even trying, okay, to do better in your thoughts, because again, all of this, when it comes to the ungodly, it's not pointing the finger at someone external from you. This is all you yourself and what goes on in your mind. So when you're in a place where you're actually let's say being mindful and aware of your thought process, that actually helps you to be a more blessed person, because you're aware of your thoughts, you're aware of your habits, you're aware of what you say, you're aware of what you do, and you're putting effort into being a positive person. Okay. So let's move on. And that was just verse 1. Okay. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So this is again making a conscious effort to be delightful, to put your mind in a place where you're dwelling on things that are positive. Where did I put it? Okay, so there is some of you may know where this is, where it talks about lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. This kind of goes back to referring to verse 1. You want to walk in a way, a particular way, where it's godly or upstanding. I'll say it like that. Because some of you may not be religious or may not believe in God in the general sense of how everyone else believes in God, because I know I have my own views of God. And when it refers to the way, also the way is a craft, is referring to the craft, and the craft meaning witchcraft. Okay. You're basically taking delight in those practices that are good. You're not allowing yourself to willfully be led into doing practices, habitual practices that are not going to benefit you or uplift your mind. And I've always said this, one of the most challenging things that a person can do is take control of their mind. The mind is a muscle just like other muscles in our bodies, and people will exercise their external muscles all day long. But when it comes to this mind here and taking control over your thoughts, that is something that most people have the hardest time doing, stopping themselves from thinking things that are negative or oppositional to what it is that they actually would like to have. Because again, this is one of those things where it's as above, so below, as inside, so out. Whatever it is that you believe or feel or think in here, it gets shown in your external world. I know you guys don't want to believe it, but your real world is in here, and it is projected out on the screen of life in your so-called reality out here. But the real reality begins up here. Whatever it is that you are dwelling on in here gets projected on your outside screen of life. And this is one of the reasons the Bible talks so heavily with in a time where we go into the New Testament with Christ, where he's speaking so heavily on what you should dwell on. You should be thinking about things that are upstanding, that are lovely, that are true. I can't remember where the verse is, but it's somewhere. And you have to direct your mind thoughts. You cannot allow your mind thought to take direction for you. So that's another thing. So getting into verse 3, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So when you're like a tree planted by the rivers of water, when a tree is planted, a tree is something that is not easily moved. And when it comes to the rivers of water, this is being planted, rooted, and grounded in what would be considered the consciousness of God. The consciousness of God is going to be nourishing to you. And you will be able to know what direction or what things, what way you are in by the things that are external to you in your life. If you're in school and you're studying to do something, you have a test coming up, you will know how well you studied pretty much. Okay, you will know how much you studied, or how well you're doing by the grades that you receive, by how good you perform on that test. You'll know how well you studied. That would be the fruit that comes forth in your season after you have planted yourself, rooted and grounded yourself in the consciousness of God or of something, whatever it is that you are doing. You will see the fruit of it come forth in its season. Everything has a season, and this goes back to even like the Bible uses a lot of terms that have to do with agriculture, because it's one of the easiest things for people to understand when it came to the time of when this was written, because it's something that people can actually see or understand better. And so when it talks about a tree being planted, well, when you plant yourself or ground yourself in something, and we're talking about your mindset, when you ground yourself in a mindset or consciousness of God, or those things that are delightful, upstanding, good, wholesome, whatever, it may not happen overnight, but it will take time through a habitual practice, which is the way. Okay, where it talks about the way, that is a habitual practice of doing something consistently every day. You will then begin to see the fruit of it and understand it's just like putting a seed in the ground. When we go back to the agricultural thing of how you can understand something, you put a seed in the ground one day. I put a seed in the ground today. I can't go outside tomorrow and expect a full-grown tree. That's why it says that it will bring forth fruit in his season. Whatever you sow, you will reap. So the concept here is, if you are embedded, if you have embedded yourself in the consciousness of God, the river of water, the things that you may be looking for to happen in your life, you'll start to see over time. Over time. And when it says whatsoever he does shall prosper, because it's not like you have to wait to get to a certain place before you start to see prosperity. You will have prosperity within that time that you are doing all of these things. While you are in your daily walk, while you are habitually doing certain things, you will start to notice that you will have prosperity, because it says his leaf also shall not wither. This means that you're going to see the growth and expansion of whatever it is that you're doing, opposed to things always going wrong. You're still going to see that prosperity, even in the midst of you being in this way of having a daily practice of getting in tune with God. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. So the ungodly, again, is dealing with the mindset. This is when you're in a daily habit of thinking a certain way, and say when it comes to your thoughts, if you're always saying to yourself, for little things, God, I'm so stupid, because maybe you consistently are making a lot of mistakes. Instead of you saying that, because that's being in an ungodly way, instead you should say, when you start to say things, or reprogram your mind, and begin saying more things like, well, wow, I made a mistake, but it's okay. I'm a smart person, but I learned through my mistakes, and it's okay. And start to change your verbiage around what you do. You'll see that that ungodly part, that negative aspect of those thoughts, will start to be driven away. Those aspects, even of yourself, that you may not like so much, will start to change, because change first comes in your mind. Then you'll start to see it happen. It's like, and this is one of the things I really can't stand, when people talk about children and they're like, oh my God, this child, they're so bad. Or you say this badass kid, or you're always talking about a child in the negative sense. Well, that kid keeps on hearing that over and over again. They act it out. They act it out. But once you start to give positive reinforcement to that child, just like if it happens with you or anything, you'll start to see that negative aspect of what you don't want turn and change. And now more of the positive stuff, characteristics or attributes, are going to be brought forward, and you'll start to see more of those things occurring, opposed to the negative stuff. So it's what you are feeding your mind, what you are allowing your mind to dwell on, those things that are good, that you want to have be brought forth in your life. If you're dwelling on those good things, feeding yourself good things, all those negative things are the ungodly aspects or thoughts. Those things will slowly start to be pushed out, and it'll come to a point where in your mind you will, instead of, if you're a person who's pessimistic, you train your mind to be optimistic and start to see the good in everything, even if it seems like it's not beneficial. But turn your thoughts around and start looking at everything as just a lesson and a perspective, and not something that's either good or bad or positive or negative. But just say, wow, okay, well, this is just a different way of looking at things, and it's a lesson. When you can start to do that, the more you start to do that, the more harder it will be for negative thoughts to stay in your mind. So this is the chaff being driven away, okay, by the wind. The wind is that force that you use, the effort that you put in to maintain a certain mindset, okay. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. All right. And I'm not looking at my notes, but I will probably go back over them just to make sure that I did not miss anything that I may have wanted to say. Because I'm sure that I did, or that I am. And we're already almost a half hour in. But the ungodly, those negative thought forms that you have will not be able to stand in the judgment. The judgment are those good things that God sees of you. It's just like night and day. Night cannot be around when day is there. Day cannot be around when night is there, or light and dark. Darkness cannot be around when light is there, when light is turned on. So anytime you have positive thoughts and you're creating a space in your mind where you are habitually thinking of only positive things, there's no way that any negative thought will be able to remain there in your mind. It's just impossible. You can't have two thoughts at the same time. So it's not going to be able to stand there. And the ungodly not being able to stand in judgment, or sinners in the congregation, right? So missing the mark, anyone where it says nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. So those that continuously miss the mark, they will not be able to be in the congregation of the righteous. And the righteous, or the congregation, these are beings that are of a spiritual nature. So let's say they're like the celestial beings that God has created. We get assistance and help from our spirit guides and guardian angels. So being one who may consistently miss the mark, you will, those individuals, or those thoughts, that habit, the habit of those that are constantly missing the mark, will not be able to be in the realm of those that are in the congregation of the righteous. And again, those celestial beings. Because when you're always trying to look at what it is that you can do to uplift your mind, better your mind, think positively, being more so in that place puts you more in line and in tune with the divine, with source, and opens you up to the guidance of the divine with the celestial beings. We get led by them all the time. And when your mind is focused in a right way, those beings, you get sometimes like these, I would, for lack of a better word, say these impulses, or nudges to do certain things. That's being led. You're being guided. So when your mind is in the right place, you're open to those beings having more access to those beings and allowing the divine to guide you in a better way. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. This is not saying that the ungodly will perish. It is saying the way of the ungodly shall perish. Let's understand this, because I know a lot of people may look at this and be like, oh, these people are going to hell. These evil people are going to hell. That's not what this is saying. This is saying that the way, God knows the way of the righteous, and knowing the way is knowing the way that he has created you, knowing the way that in your pure spiritual being of how you have been created before you were placed in a physical body. He knows how he created you, and your soul before incarnating was perfect, which means that when you are born, when you come, your soul, who you are in your essence, you are perfect because you are made to be a soul, and you can't be anything else but that. So in him creating that, he knows how he's made you. He knows that he has formed you to be a spiritual being, and in that way we are all perfect. You can disagree. This is my video. This is my interpretation, okay? So I'm just breaking it down for you the way that I see it, okay? It's like someone who has designed something like ink, or you know what? I won't even say ink. I'll say a bed. The idea is to make a bed, something that you can sleep on. Now, the layout of how it gets done, the design, may be different from other beds, but the idea of the bed is to create an object that's purpose is to allow someone to be able to lay on it and rest on it. That's it. That's the perfectness of that object. It is perfect within that. Now, if it's got some dents in it and the color may be off, or it might be a little lopsided, whatever, the basic idea of it, the structure of that, the idea of that is for it to be something to lay down, for someone to lay down on. So in that sense, it is perfect, regardless to the design of it, regardless to the way that it comes out. Because when you look at us as humans, we all are different, but we're all the same in nature in regards to being a living soul, a spirit first, a spiritual being first. And in that sense, we are all perfect because that is what we were all made to be, is spirits. God made us as a spirit. And so he knows the way of us when it comes to being spiritual beings. Okay? And in that sense, that makes us righteous because he created us, or we were created in a way, and I hate saying he because I really don't believe that God is a male energy, because anything that gives birth or it comes from a female or feminine attribute. Um, uh, so again, we are perfect and righteous in the way of being created as a spiritual being. And God knows this is how he created us. He knows the way of us in that sense. He does not know us in the sense of our feelings if we get hurt, or if we are experiencing certain kinds of things where we feel like we're suffering, or even if we're happy, ecstatic about something. That doesn't resonate with Source. Source just knows that as we were created, the way that we were supposed to be created as a spiritual being, that we are perfect in that way, and that's the way that he knows us as a spiritual being. But as a human, does not understand that concept of the experience of it, which is why there's so many of us, because Source decided to express itself in the way of all kind of different all kind of different, oh my gosh, my words, different beings to have different experiences. That's basically from Hebrews 1 of us being the express image of God. But when it says the way of the ungodly shall perish, when your thoughts are so much into being in a practice of being elevated, then anything that is of low vibration will be extinguished. It will perish. It will leave. It will just be gone. It will not be able to stand. So in that sense, the ungodly, those negative thoughts will not be there. They will have to leave. They will go. And this is almost like washing away things that are not good. When you put clothes in the wash, you put that detergent in there to wash away that dirt from the clothes, and so that detergent can be those good thoughts that are in your mind that clean away all those negative thoughts that you have. But it has to become a way, a practice, something that you put effort into every day. It needs to become a habit. Now, for those of you that, and I might timestamp this, for those of you that are looking to use this psalm, hopefully, let me just say this first. I hope that I was able to break that psalm down for you in a way where you understood it, how you could look at it to get some kind of get some understanding, better understanding from it. Hopefully I was able to do that for you, so that when you look at that, you see it in a different way that really can benefit you. For those of you that are looking towards this psalm now, to use it in a spiritual or a divination type of way, first I would say that you should, when we use this to diminish the strength of the enemy, pray this prayer as needed to overcome the strength of your enemy. And this is understanding how you do this is by looking at those ways of delighting in the law of the Lord, delighting in the righteousness or the goodness, the good thoughts, things that are good. Those things are going to help you overcome your enemy by putting your mind in a different place. Releasing the negative thoughts. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Verse 4 is one of the verses that I would say to highlight, to use when it comes to overcoming or diminishing the strength of your enemy. If you are going to use this in some form of a spell, focus on verse 4 and 5. The ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Those two verses would be very good verses to use. And then also, if you want to use this for protection and security, I would burn a purple candle in the house daily and recite this chapter in the morning and also in the evening. I would even go so far to, me personally, if you wanted to have protection in your home with this, I would take a black candle, in black, red, or blue. Those are all colors for protection. Black is the main color for protection because you want to dispel anything that is negative and dark. You want to use that to protect you. Blue is a color for protection. If you look at, if you're someone who uses like the evil eye is, the color for it is blue. Blue is a great color to use for protection. It's also a good color to use for healing. And then red. Red is another one of those colors that is good for protection because it's something that is like fiery. And it pretty much gives protection like speedily. But for candle practices, I would take a black candle and I would write this whole psalm on parchment paper. Parchment paper is like lunch bag, brown paper bag, brown paper. You can go to the dollar store and you can get some paper bags, or if you're in a place when you go to the grocery store and they bag it up in a grocery bag, that's parchment paper. You want to take that and you want to tear it. You want to write out the psalm on it, and you want to place that underneath of a black candle. And if it is a candle that is in a glass, what you could do is with a nail or something sharp, I would put on like draw on the top part of the candle, if you can, around the wick, draw a star and then draw a circle around it, and I will show you. I'm going to do a dot and say the dot is the wick. Okay, if my pen will write. Okay, so we have the dot. That's the wick. All right. And then you want to do a 5-point star in the candle wax. You want to draw that. This is a symbol for protection. And then you want to draw a circle around the star. If you're able to do that in the candle with a sharp object, I would say a nail. If you don't have a nail, you can buy a skewer, one of those long skewers from the Dollar Tree, and you can do that and then draw the circle. Put the parchment paper with the Psalms underneath of the black candle, and you can light it. And then also you can say, well, this is the other thing too, if you're using it for protection, on the back of that parchment paper, you want to write all enemies, known and unknown, or you can write all negative energy, protection of from all negative energy. And you can put that underneath of the black candle, and you can light it. And then when you light it, you want to recite this, and then you can let it burn. You could do that each day for like a half hour or to an hour. Let that candle burn until it burns out. Okay, so this is it. I know that this was a really long video. It's going to take forever for it to upload, but I do hope that in some way this video, the breaking down of Psalm 1, that I was able to assist you in some way to help give clarity and understanding to this chapter, this psalm. And the next one I'm going to do Psalm 2. And some of these I may do in parts because they do get pretty long. But we've already done Psalm 1. The next one we're going to do is going to be Psalm 2. Okay. So, well, let me see. Psalm 2 was from here to here. Over here. And my Bible, yes, I have had this stuff marked in my Bible for many, many years. I've been doing this for a long time, y'all. So, you guys, give me some feedback, please. I would appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you would like to donate to my channel, there is going to be a link in my description box with my Cash App if you would like to give something. I don't care if it's 50 cents, $1, but whatever it is, if you feel moved to donate, I would greatly appreciate it. I am trying to save up to get some things to actually help my scenery and my videos to be better. So I just thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you chime in and leave a comment. But I thank you guys for tuning in and watching this video, and let me know what results you guys get and how you like this video. Stay tuned for more breaking down of the Psalms and usage of the Psalms for magical purposes. I'm Ivy, and you're at well, this is my Divination channel. This is going on there for my Divination with D. But you can also check me out on my Ivy Vibes channel where I do my tarot. But for now, I just thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.